The story begins with a man named Song, a former professional wrestler. His career had slowed down, and now he was out of work. So, Song decided to try something new and become a teacher at a primary school. One morning, full of hope, he went to apply for a job at a school. But when he had the interview, the principal said that all the teacher positions were already filled. However, the principal offered him a job at a school on a houseboat in the middle of a lake, a place that everyone in the town knew. Since Song really needed a job, he accepted the offer. After a long 6-hour journey, Song finally arrived at the houseboat school in the morning. On his first day of teaching, before the students arrived, he practiced to make himself feel more confident. But after waiting for hours, none of the students showed up. Feeling bored, Song decided to go for a ride in a boat, but he slipped and broke his hand. The next morning, still with no students, Song asked a woman who was passing by in a boat why no one was coming to school. The woman explained that most people in the town were fishermen, and the kids preferred helping their parents catch fish instead of going to school. To get the children to come, Song had to convince them one by one. So, Song asked for help to ride around the town in a boat. Thanks to his effort, Song was able to gather 4 kids. When the children introduced themselves, Song realized that they were all in different grade levels. So, he gave them work that matched their own levels. But instead of focusing on their work, the kids started talking about what they would have for lunch. Seeing this, Song could only sigh. One afternoon, after break time was over, Song was confused because the students were missing from the class. After looking around, he found them swimming in the middle of the lake. Worried that something bad might happen, Song got angry and told them to return to the class. As a punishment, he hit them with a stick. But when one of the kids started crying, Song felt really bad about what he had done. That night, since the houseboat also had rooms to stay in, the kids stayed there for a week before going home for the holiday. After the kids were asleep, Song relaxed by watching videos of his girlfriend on his phone. Even though they had only been apart for a short time, he already missed her a lot. A week passed, and when the holiday came, the kids went home. Song went to the clinic to treat his hand. After the treatment, he went back to his apartment that evening. But when he got off the bus, he accidentally saw his girlfriend riding a motorbike with another man. When he reached his apartment, he got into a fight with the man. After the fight, Song packed his things and asked his girlfriend why she had cheated on him. Instead of apologizing, his girlfriend blamed the situation. She said she cheated because she wasn't sure about their future, especially since Song didn't have a steady job. She told him it was better to find someone more successful instead of living in poverty. Hearing this, Song just stood there, feeling hurt. After packing his things, he left the apartment, rode his motorbike, and went back to the houseboat. On the houseboat, Song felt very sad after the breakup. In the middle of his sadness, he noticed a diary on the blackboard. The diary belonged to Anne, the teacher who had worked at the school before him. As Song read the diary, he realized that Anne's story was almost the same as his own. A year before Song arrived, and had been scolded by the principal because he thought she wasn't setting a good example for the students. The principal even made fun of Anne's tattoos. But Anne stood strong and answered back to the principal. Because he was so upset, the principal decided to move into the houseboat school where Song was teaching now. To keep in company, the principal also moved Gigi, another teacher who often made mistakes, to the same school. Before moving, Anne and Gigi took a photo together as a memory. Teaching on the houseboat wasn't easy. There was no electricity, clean water was hard to find, and the phone signal was very weak. But Anne and Gigi, with their experience as teachers, managed to handle all the challenges. Week after week passed, and one day, Anne got a skin infection and had to go to the clinic. Her boyfriend, Nui, who was the vice principal at a famous private school in Thailand, went with her. While they were at the clinic, Nui shared his frustration. He told Anne that since she started teaching on the houseboat, they didn't get to spend much time together. He felt like their relationship was drifting apart because they could only see each other on weekends. To make things better, Nui asked Anne to stop teaching on the houseboat and move to the private school where he worked. But Anne said no. For her, being a teacher meant giving education to children who really needed it, no matter what the school looked like. And told Nui that education was about her students' future, not about the school's condition. Because they couldn't agree, and then Nui argued for a long time and finally decided to break up. when, in return to the houseboat, she wrote down all her feelings in her diary. After finishing her writing, she screamed as loud as she could and jumped into the lake. The next morning, Gigi decided to quit her job because she couldn't handle living in such a tough place anymore. At first, and felt scared to face everything by herself. But when she thought about her students, she gathered her strength and decided to stay. Even though the school was simple, the children already saw her as a parent figure. After reading Anne's diary, Song felt inspired again. Without thinking, he did what Anne had done and jumped into the lake. The next morning, Song began changing the way he taught, copying the methods Anne used. But in the middle of class, things got tense when a snake suddenly came into the room. Song managed to get rid of the snake, and his bravery impressed the students. To show their thanks, they wrote messages on the bandage that covered Song's hand. Seeing this made Song feel really touched. Since he often read Anne's diary, he felt like he had found a new kind of love for her as a teacher. During class, Song gave the students an assignment to find items that belonged to Anne. They searched for a long time and cleaned the room, but the only thing they found was a photo showing Anne's tattoo. Since the assignment didn't go well, Song gave them a new task, to draw a picture of Anne. Unfortunately, their drawings didn't turn out as expected, and Song could only sigh. Over the next few days, Song kept imagining what Anne might look like, hoping one day he would meet the person who had inspired him so much. Then one day, a huge storm hit the area, causing panic among everyone. After the storm passed, Song felt relieved that he had managed to save Anne's diary. But his relief quickly turned to shock when he saw that the school's roof had been destroyed. As he was drying pieces of the diary, Song's eyes landed on a motivational quote Anne had written. It said that no matter what happens, you should never give up. This message instantly filled Song with energy, and he decided to start fixing the school's roof. That night, Song kept reading Anne's diary. In it, Anne told the story of a student named Chan. One day, while Anne was teaching, Chan shared something that was bothering him. Chan said he didn't like math because he didn't think it would help him in the future. He explained that he only wanted to be a fisherman like his father and wasn't sure if he even wanted to continue school. Hearing this, Anne tried to give Chan some advice. She told him that he was still young and didn't have to decide his whole future yet, and explained that there were many great jobs he could choose from, like being a doctor or an engineer, and even being a fisherman was a noble job. But Anne hoped Chan would choose his own future, not just follow in his father's footsteps. She believed that if Chan worked hard in school, he could raise his family's status. A few months later, during the midterm exams, Chan didn't show up. After the exam was over, Anne, who was worried, decided to visit Chan's house. When she met Chan's father, she asked why Chan wasn't at the exam. Chan's father explained that Chan had to help catch fish that day. For him, catching fish was much more important than taking an exam. Even though Anne tried to explain, both Chan and his father refused to send him back to school. Back at school, Anne asked her students what they wanted to be when they grew up. She was curious about their dreams for the future. Most of the students answered that they wanted to be fishermen like their parents. This made Anne feel sad because she knew they had so much potential. After hearing about Chan, the next day, Song decided to visit Chan's house. When he met Chan, Song introduced himself and encouraged Chan to come back to school. He told Chan that he fully supported his dream of becoming a fisherman, but he also told him it was important to be a smart fisherman and maybe even the best in the world. Song encouraged Chan to aim for catching fish by the ton, not just by the kilo. He told Chan that the first step to that dream was going back to school. Chan thought about Song's words, but Chan's father still seemed unsure. He worried about who would help catch the fish if Chan went back to school. Song, with a big smile, offered to help catch the fish for him. Chan's father, seeing how serious Song was, finally agreed. Because of Song's kindness, Chan could return to school and continue his education. A few months later, it was time for the midterm exams. During the exams, the students had a hard time, and their results were bad. Because of this, the principal scolded Song. The principal reminded Song that his teaching contract was only for 1 year. He said if the students' grades didn't improve by the next semester, Song would be replaced by another teacher. Before leaving the room, Song asked the principal about Anne. The principal told him that Anne was now teaching at a fancy private school where Nui worked, and that Anne was going to get married soon. Hearing this made Song feel very sad. Back at school, Song tried to find answers by reading Anne's diary. As he flipped through the pages, he found one he had missed. It was about the day when Nui proposed to Anne. Realizing this, Song decided to stop hoping for anything with Anne. To try to forget his feelings, Song decided to burn Anne's diary. But as he was about to set it on fire, he suddenly changed his mind and put out the flames. In that moment, Song realized that he still had feelings for Anne. The next morning, at the private school, Anne was teaching her students by the swimming pool. She preferred teaching in a hands-on way outside, instead of just giving lessons in the classroom. While the lesson was going on, Nui and the principal came to scold her. The principal thought Anne's method was too much and could be dangerous for the students. When Anne tried to explain that her way of teaching was more effective, Nui joined in and scolded her too, trying to please the principal, and felt really disappointed by Nui's behavior. When Anne got angry, Nui quickly apologized. As the vice principal, he explained that he had to support his boss. However, Anne felt that she didn't belong at the school anymore, so she told Nui that she wanted to quit. Nui stopped her and reminded her that they were getting married next year. After hearing this, Anne agreed to stay. Meanwhile, far away, Song couldn't stop thinking about Anne, even though his heart was still broken. He was thankful, though, because Anne had helped him become a better teacher. To express his feelings, Song wrote everything in Anne's diary. 6 months later, when Anne was preparing for the final exams, a pregnant woman suddenly came to see her. The woman revealed that the baby she was carrying was Nui's, and was shocked to learn that Nui had been unfaithful. Heartbroken, Anne left her classroom in tears. Nui tried to explain, but Anne refused to listen. That moment marked the end of their relationship. A month later, feeling nostalgic for the students at the houseboat school, Anne went to see the principal and asked if she could return to teach there. The principal happily agreed, especially since Song had resigned at the end of the last semester, leaving the teacher position at the houseboat school open. Hearing this, Anne felt relieved. On Anne's first day back teaching, the students greeted her with joy and hugs. When she saw Chan, she was surprised. As she measured the children's height and asked Chan why he came back to school, Chan told her all about how Song had worked hard to convince him to come back and keep learning. Hearing this, Anne became curious about Song. After class, Anne accidentally found her diary on the blackboard. When she opened it, she saw that Song had written in it. In the diary, Song shared his experiences of teaching at the houseboat school, from heartbreak to learning how to be a good teacher, and all because of Anne, the teacher he could never have. Reading these love-filled words made Anne's heart feel happy. Song wrote that in the past 6 months, he realized that being a good teacher wasn't just about teaching lessons, but also about being a second parent to the students. Even though Song's life experiences were limited, he tried to teach the kids many things, like simple experiences such as riding a train. During the final exams, when Song found out that Chan didn't pass, he felt guilty. To become a better teacher, Song decided to continue his education and teaching. When he submitted his resignation, he was worried about his students' future. Even though it was hard for him to leave, Song knew that going to college was necessary to become a better teacher. Reading all of Song's words made Anne feel happy too. A few months later, after the midterm exams were over, Anne was called in by the principal. The principal praised her for her students' great exam results. During their conversation, Anne, curious, asked for Song's address. The principal gave her the details he had saved. When Anne saw Song's photo in the file, she smiled and decided to visit the address. However, when she tried to call him, his number didn't work, and the apartment where he lived had moved. In the following days, Anne kept reading Song's letters and slowly started to like him. One morning, while Anne was shopping at the market, a local person told her that a letter had arrived for her and the students. When Anne found out the letter was from Song, she was so happy and quickly went to the houseboat. Once she got there, she asked one of the students about the letter. The student honestly said that the letter had accidentally fallen into the toilet and felt sad, but luckily the student had read the letter. The student told Anne that Song would come to the houseboat the next afternoon after school, and was so excited to hear this. She, along with the students, began cleaning the school to get ready for Song's visit. During lunch break, Nui suddenly showed up at the houseboat. Nui told and that the school would be on a long break after the report cards were given out. He also asked Anne to come back to him and continue their wedding plans that had been paused. Nui apologized for all the mistakes he had made and begged for a second chance, and asked for some time to think about it. That night, Anne cried as she read the letters from Nui that she had never opened before. After thinking all night, Anne decided to give Nui a second chance. The next day, during the report card ceremony, Anne proudly praised her students, especially Chan, who had passed elementary school and would move on to middle school. Before they said goodbye, the children asked if Anne would wait for Song, who was coming that afternoon, and just sent her greetings and apologized for not being able to wait. After saying her goodbyes, Anne left with Nui. But as they were traveling, Anne looked uncertain. Even though she had decided to be with Nui again, her thoughts were still with Song. While the car was waiting for a train to pass, Anne asked Nui what he thought about a teacher who worked so hard to drag a houseboat with a boat just to give her students a chance to ride a train. Nui replied that it was too much and that the most important thing in school was for the students to pass their exams. Hearing this, Anne realized that she and Nui never really understood each other. She decided to cancel their wedding plans and returned to the houseboat, hoping that Song would still be there. But when she arrived, the houseboat seemed dark and quiet, and felt sad, thinking she was too late. Just as she was about to leave, the lights in the school suddenly turned on, and went toward the lights and found Song fixing the generator. She handed him her diary. They greeted each other and shared a meaningful look. And the film ends. The moral lesson from this film is if your students would rather catch fish than go to school, maybe you should just start teaching underwater. And if life gives you a broken roof and no students, just throw yourself in the lake and hope a snake teaches them instead.